Привет из Сингапура. С вами передача «ГолубьМира», где разбираем крутые навыки. Спрашиваем на английском, отвечаем на русском. Подтягивайте язык или смотрите перевод в тайм-кодах. Let's talk about scenic speech and let's start with the definition.
Scenic speech is a very rare object. You will never hear about this from the ordinary people. But when you are talking with actors, you will find they always speak like they on the scene. They are talking very distinctively. You will you will hear ending of the each word, and you will hear very well pronounced letters. It is very funny, but you will suddenly realize that when they talk, you уважаешь,
Respect.
you respect them because they respect you. They are trying to talk so that you couldn't look at their lips, and you will find that when you talk, a lot of people they look at your lips to understand what you are talking about. And when you have several actors in your neighborhood, you will definitely try to imitate them and speak more distinctly.
And what are the things and principles that scenic speak is consist of so that and what are the areas where exactly it could be used besides the scene?
When you are native to your language, you do not try to speak in a well form, and you will be very far from the dictors on the central TV. Sometimes you will find lecture professors or some other guys who are talking as they have microphone close to them, and they very стараются,
Trying to.
and they are trying to be understandable, and you will suddenly realize that it is a very respectful way to talk, and you will find that if you are trying to be the same way talking person, everyone will understand you much better. Second, there are a lot of mistakes we do in our common speech. The reason we don't want to look to the dictionaries to know etymology, semantics, and some other topics about the words, about sayings, about phrases. And last one, when people speak well, you will realize that they like to make it. This is like musicians. They could produce music by the words.
And when it comes to the different levels of mastery in order for people to, like show how well they can speak with a certain audience, what are the steps they need to go through in order to actually be recognized as the one who is very nice to listen to and talk to as well?
First, you should have a stable voice. A lot of people who are nervous or who make the speech not often, they are trying to make like a cockle-doodle-doo. Their voices goes high or goes low, and it is even not easy to be close to them because you will find that their voice is irritating you. So you should be stable. Second, you should pronounce distinctly all the word endings. If you are familiar with the language, sometimes you will use the short forms of words. For example, when I was in Australia, it was not easy because they do not spell plane, they say PL. They do not spell balsam, they just saying balm, and it is not enough to understand them. And the last level, you should know that the art of speaking is about pauses, not about words.
And sometimes we might be encountering the people who actually trying to give some sort of like a presentation or performance, and you think for yourself like, boy, you better not open your mouth. So probably there could be a certain mistakes that people make while trying to, like learn or even apply the scenic speech. So let's look into the top 3 of them.
First, you should be very familiar with your text. For example, if your subordinates were preparing the presentation and you think that you could explain from the scratch, you do not make rehearsal, you will find that you loosen some words and your speech is not smooth enough as it should be. Second, you should know a lot of words which have the same meanings, because if you will look like a woodpecker who will tell the same words, everyone was thinking, how small is the vocabulary of this person? Maybe he or she is not smart enough. And the last level of errors, it is when no one could understand by which track you are going. So you should use like a ladder, step by step, with the small steps. There is a saying in Russian language, I don't know if I able to translate it in English, but it is like, do not try to make a huge step. You will damage your trousers.
Yeah, probably there might be something similar in the English as well. So when it comes to using the scenic speech in the different life situation, what might be the specifics here, if it's applicable? So let's say, for example, we're giving the presentation for investors, or we going to the shareholders to show some stuff, or maybe we're talking to our employees, or maybe we can use it in the personal life, or maybe even in some of the encounters of the business. How it would be used in such circumstances?
You know, to be honest, I like to be in Russia, but the first year it was quite nightmare. I was talking with clients or some investors or company owners, and I was making an errors or mistakes because of my Ukrainian heritage. So some letters, some stress put it to the words were wrong, and they was not listening me, but they were correcting me, and it was like a rehearsal. I was trying to make a very official speech, but suddenly people were saying, this is an error one, this is an error two, and after the ending of my speech, nothing was happening. And then I was hiring an artist, a woman from theater, and he was working with me for 90 days. And suddenly I were making not so huge amount of errors, and now I was listened by the people. So if you are trying to speak in Russia or post-Soviet Union territories, you should know your language well, because everyone after your errors will think that you are dumb. But when I was in Germany, when I was in England or US, in some other countries, and I was trying to talk on German, English, or maybe Spanish, no one was correcting me. And everyone was missing my mistakes, and we were going just to talk about the ground I was trying to present.
And let's actually look into the skill with the connection with the all the orthogonal skills. Like, for example, how the scenic speech could be combined with the body language, like how exactly you should act when you talk. Because one thing is like to talk well and, be able to present all of your ideas. Another thing is like how exactly you use your body to articulate the topics. Another thing, let's also look into another dimension, is maybe positioning. How do you position yourself when you are trying to deliver certain messages?
If you will remember some singers or some artists from the past Soviet Union, we will note that they are standing like a pillars on the scene, because it was the time when body language was completely prohibited. You should be as serious as a stone or serious as a tank. But right now, when you are trying to present some idea to the auditory, you should walk, you should go, you should smile. So right now, it is quite important. In School of Troubleshooters, I often ask and trying to explain the importance of the body language, and some guys already was visiting some kind of coaches or courses to make the body more flexible. And it was the same for me. I was a corporate soldier, and I was always wearing the tie and expensive suit, and I was serious as that. But I realized that when I was talking with some billionaires on some St. Nevis or Cocos Island or another part of the world, all of them were wearing t-shirts, they were smiling, and I was like a stranger among them. And I also was conducting some courses, and I became a smiling person, and it was quite difference in life before and after. And the same with you. Sometimes we start our podcast and you are serious, and I'm a bit worried about you, but suddenly you smile, and it is like a sunshine. Immediately everything is switched to the best part of the world.
Thank you very much for that. And what are there any like a exercise or like I would say like maintenance procedures that you need to have in order to make sure that you know like you still have this good skill in the right shape? Like for example, I don't know, just taking it from top of my head, you can go in front of the mirror and maybe do some sort of like a rehearsal or even try to have the monologue or dialogue with the invisible people that you might be interacting with, but you also will be observing the selection of the words, the body language, and how exactly you're delivering this message. So going back to my question, is there like any certain routine that would help you to maintain a certain type of the level of skill of the scenic speech?
Yes, there are a lot of. For example, there are some exercises which are quite funny. For example, you could imagine that you are a hero from the Star Wars, and there are some exercise we provides. You should look to the ceiling. For example, I have a ceiling with 124 bulbs, and I will make like a poo 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 with different tone and different powerful. I will like shooting to the bulbs. So I should imagine people with my voice. People in the auditory should understand I am talking for them. Another exercise is to whisper. Let's imagine that, for example, I am a wife and you are a husband, and between us, like 5 meters from you and 5 meters from me, there is a bed with a small baby, and we want to talk, but do not let it awake. So we should whisper distinctively, but not loudly. And there are some more. By the way, it was funny. Yesterday, we were visited by a very famous American actors in our flat with my wife. And when it was finished, suddenly she come to me and says, they speak English so well. And I tell them, not English. It is a scenic way to pronounce words. If you will talk to just usual ordinary people, they will maybe will know the same words, but they will pronounce for themselves, not for you. But artists, they always talking to you. You are the aim, not their ego.
I would actually compare it with this different user experience when interacting with someone's voice or maybe the manner of presenting things, especially the speech. Last question will be how knowing about the scenic speech would help to make this world a better place.
It was a time when my sister was fallen from the motorcycle, and she was broken apart, and she was laying in the hospital, and I was visiting her, and suddenly she said, "No one is listening to me because I'm unable to be loud." As usual, and I was talking to everyone with normal voice, and suddenly everything was going smooth. And she say to me, you know, right now, just right now, I understand how is important to be loud and to be understandable. When I will recover, I will definitely go to a teacher to talk in Russian with the best possible way.
А мы рассмотрели навык сценическая речь и чем он полезен именно вам. Всем мира!